All right. Moving on. So just a quick recap of week 3. I got my ass handed to me. At least it felt that way. I ended up finishing the week 4-4, but I bet big on the Bills, Chiefs, Chargers, 49ers, and they all just absolutely did not show up this week. I felt good about this week, but the NFL is the NFL. I mean, who would have predicted the Colts would knock off the Chiefs last week? Jaguars just blowing out the Chargers. So some of those things you can't really predict. 49ers felt like they just kind of didn't show up. Bills, I mean, that seemed like more of a meltdown. I mean, yeah, they were really banged up on defense, but they only allowed 21 points. So I think the bigger story is they only scored 19 points on offense, which is concerning, especially going into next week here. But betting on the Texans paid or pushed for me, but a push is a win. Ravens came through for me, and then the Falcons and the Cowboys. Betting against the Seahawks and the Giants worked this week. So might have to look into doing that again next for week 4. So my overall record goes to 12-15. If those were flipped, we'd be doing all right. But right now I'm kind of in the hole through the first 3 weeks. Moving on to week 4. So there's an AM game in London, Vikings against Saints. So I'm not going to touch this one with a 10-foot pole. I think the point, it was -3.5 towards the Vikings. And, they should, but whenever the Vikings should go out and do something, they tend to not. The Saints are going to be starting Andy Dalton, and Michael Thomas is out too. But the Saints are going to be starting Andy Dalton instead of Jameis Winston, and backup quarterbacks are the Vikings' kryptonite. I mean, going back a couple years, Matt Moore came in, beat us. I remember a game where I think Trubisky got knocked out right away for the Bears, and then Chase Daniel came in and beat the Vikings. Last year, Cooper Rush, who is a solid backup, but he's not Dak Prescott, and he showed up and beat the Vikings last year. So Vikings just are not, for whatever reason, they don't show up to play. I don't know if they get relaxed when the backup comes in, think it's going to be handed to them, but I don't know. But so I'm not going to touch that game. Looking at history, it might make sense to pick the Saints, but hopefully my Vikes go out and do it. Next game I'm picking. So this game I'm actually picking is Browns -1 at Atlanta. So don't really like picking the Browns. This will probably be a small bet, but I think the Falcons are a bottom 5 team in the NFL, and the Browns have a really good defense. Myles Garrett was in a car accident, but I don't see any reason why he wouldn't play. It sounds like he feels like he can play, and he cleared concussion protocol. So I don't really know how they'd come up with a reason to keep him out. So I kind of expect him to play, and that defense is really solid. And then on offense, they got a really strong offensive line, top 5. I know they got some injuries right now, but it looked like those guys were, like Conklin was questionable. But you got Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb is a monster. And Jacoby Brissett is, I think, played better than people expected so far. I do expect that to kind of level out a little bit, but Amari Cooper is coming off back-to-back 100-yard games, which wouldn't expect to see. I didn't expect to see much consistency from him throughout the year just because of his quarterback. And Njoku was also, I think, questionable. I'm not sure if he's going to play, but I think the Browns got enough to get this done. It's a -1 point spread, and I'll take that, even though it's at Atlanta. Next game I got Washington +3 at the Cowboys. Okay, so this is a division game, but the Cowboys are favored at home -3 with a backup quarterback, and I think their luck with that is going to run. I know they've won two games now with the backup QB, but I think their luck's going to run out a little bit. They were against last week Seattle, or was it the Giants? It was the Giants on Monday night. Yeah, I think their luck's going to run out with that. I think Washington has a dangerous offense. I mean, yeah, Carson Wentz isn't the most consistent quarterback, but he's not like trash. So you got Wentz, you got Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel's a nice gadget player, Jahan Doxson and Terry McLaurin are good widers. That's a pretty good group of weapons right there. You're playing Cowboys defense that's nothing special. Cowboys offense that's going to be running out a backup QB and a washed Zeke. Their offensive line isn't what it was, especially at the tackle position. And I think there's no Chase Young, but the Washington D line is still pretty strong even without Chase Young. He's still out, so I'm gonna take Washington with those 3 points. I think they're more likely to win this game, division game. They're gonna show up ready to play. Next game I got Lions versus Seattle. So I haven't placed this bet yet. I was seeing it at -3.5 Lions, which, obviously that half point is pretty big when you know how the game of football is played. So hopefully I can try to find it a little bit better than that. But I still like the Lions here, -3.5. It's a home game. They're just coming off a game they should have won against the Vikings. The Lions team's been playing really hard, and Seattle's really bad. There's really nothing special about Seattle, and Detroit's offense is pretty sneaky good. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown is out this week, and DeAndre Swift is out again this week, but they got a really strong offensive line, and even a bum like Jamal Williams can do okay when he's got a really good offensive line in front of him. And similarly, Jared Goff has played really well so far this season, especially, with a good offensive line, with protection. Goff can be an all right quarterback. And last week against the Vikings, they were able to hit quite a few receivers. It wasn't just Amon-Ra St. Brown going off. I don't even think he had that great of a game. So I think Detroit, their offense is pretty sophisticated. I'll have to keep an eye on that offensive coordinator. I think his name's like Johnson. It's a really generic name. He seems to be doing something right. They're able to move the ball pretty well, and I think they're going to be able to do that against Seattle and beat them. Hopefully they can cover that -3.5. Hopefully Dan Campbell's fired up after blowing that victory and gets his boys ready to show up. This next one is also a little risky. So it's Steelers -3.5 at Jets. Gosh. So this is a game you really shouldn't touch. But the Steelers might not score any points. But here's the logic. Here's why this ended up on my board. So the Steelers are bad. They might not score any points on offense. Their offensive line is just terrible. But they have good weapons. They got a good running back. And their defense is still really good, even without TJ Watt, especially in that secondary. And Zach Wilson is going to be back this game. And I like Zach Wilson, but I think coming off an injury, missing the first 3 weeks, showing up week 4, and playing that Steelers defense, I think that is a very tough position to walk into. And I think he's going to struggle a little bit. And, if he can cough up the ball to make a Fitzpatrick, once... give the Steelers offense a short field, that can really change. That can really be a deciding thing that happens in this game. And I think Zach Wilson comes out, he struggles a little bit his first week back against a tough Steelers defense. If they turn the ball over and give the Steelers a short field or two, I don't think that's something they can really overcome. So 3.5 points, it's a little more than I'd like, but maybe I'll be able to find it slightly better. But I'm going to take the Steelers to cover that. Buffalo versus Ravens. So right now it's at Ravens, and the Buffalo is a -3 point favorite. I'm really tempted to take the Ravens +3. I mean, Buffalo didn't look good last week. They're still really banged up. Their injury list is this long, and you look at the Ravens, and the Ravens have I think Ronnie Stanley is still kind of questionable, but they got Marcus Peters back, so they got Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey on that back end. They still got Calais Campbell. I think Justin Houston there now, and he was doubtful. But Ravens got a strong defense, strong special teams. The offensive line's a little banged up, but with the way Lamar's been playing, it's kind of to take that +3 points against a banged up Bills defense is really, really tempting. And by game time, I might jump in on it, but This is going to be a fun game regardless, and I don't know if I need any extra action on it to enjoy it. Um, but if I were to pick it, I'd take that Ravens plus the points. We'll see. I might convince myself to take it by game time, but for now, not going to put it as an official pick. Texans plus 5.5 versus the Chargers. So Texans at home. They have covered every game. I mean, they pushed last week, but they've covered so far pretty well this season. This was like 6.5. It looks like it's fallen a little bit. A lot of people kind of following the lead. We'll see if I can get it at 6. But the Chargers are banged up. Justin Herbert's still playing, kind of hurt. Keenan Allen's out. And then the thing is, they just really haven't been that juggernaut that people expected them to be. I was going to check the Joey Bosa injury, but my understanding is he's out as well. So their defense definitely took a big hit last week. So I'll take the Texans in the points at home. I don't expect them to win, but maybe they'll come out and be able to at least keep up with a Chargers team that got blown out by the Jaguars last week. Cardinals plus 1 at Panthers. Okay, so people need to let me know what I'm missing on this one. I looked at this Cardinals-Panthers game. I could not believe that when I saw that the Panthers were favored, I'm like, wait, is Kyler Murray hurt? What's going on here? This spread just makes no sense to me. The Panthers have been bad. And if you've been watching social media at all this week, that locker room is kind of falling apart. You got reporters asking DJ Moore why he's not open, when obviously he's open. It's kind of more of a Baker issue. It's like the media kind of wants Baker to fail. They're really honing in and picking at the weak spots of the armor for this Panthers team. Matt Rule seems like he's going to be on the way out this year. Things are not going the right way for the Panthers. The Cardinals haven't played well, so the Panthers, they're not good. They just beat a bad Saints team, but they lost to the Giants the week before that. This is not a special team by any means. I think both these teams are 1-2. The Cardinals, on the other hand, they're 1-2. They beat Las Vegas, who's had their own struggles, but the teams they lost to were the Chiefs and the Rams. And the Chiefs were looking dominant in that Week 1 performance, and then the Rams, they've been questionable at times, but I mean that's still a really good team, probably a playoff team. So I think the strength of schedule for the Cardinals is way stronger, and they're both sitting here at 1-2. I think the Cardinals have a better QB. They're a little banged up on offense. Hopkins suspended. Marquise Brown was questionable with a foot. I think he's supposed to play. AJ Green out. So I mean he's still got Zach Ertz and some running backs, but a little dinged up on offense. But I think the Cardinals are a better team here. I mean, they're a middle of the road bad team, whereas the Panthers are, a below average bad team. So I'll take the Cardinals plus that point. And I'll probably bet pretty big on this one. I don't know. I would have expected the Cardinals to be favored by 3 or something. So I feel like I'm getting a good deal if I can get points there. Just some other games I'm not going to pick. I mean, Vegas minus 2.5 versus Broncos. I thought this was very curious because the Vegas is over. The Raiders are over 3. And they're favored against a 2-1 Broncos team. I know the Broncos have really, crapped the bed against some bad teams, but I don't know, having them as underdogs in Las Vegas, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. I think they're a pretty well-rounded team. I don't know. We'll see. Them plus the points doesn't seem like a bad bet, but I'm not going to take it. Another game I'm kind of avoiding, Kansas City versus Tampa. This has fallen to a pick'em. I think initially Kansas City might have been favored by 1. I kind of like the Kansas City side of it. Tampa's still just trying to figure things out, but their defense is strong. Mike Evans is back. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch. Not going to pick it. Rams versus 49ers. The Rams are plus 1.5 point underdogs going into San Francisco. If the Rams the Rams have looked up and down at times, and the 49ers have been difficult to trust as well. So I don't want to. I think it's curious that the Rams are underdogs. It is a division game. They are playing in the 49ers' house. I was kind of tempted to take those Rams to kind of show up and give the 49ers a hard time and in their house. Aaron Donald, maybe turn over Jimmy Garoppolo a couple times, at least once. But I really don't want to pick against the 49ers. I feel like they can just show up and be dominant this week, and the Rams are suspect. So gonna avoid that one as well. But I got some good picks in there. Cardinals, Panthers is kind of my big pick this week. I also like Washington plus those 3 points and the Lions. But yeah, good luck. We'll see what happens.